Welcome, everyone. I am truly honored. It's a privilege to have with me today Marla Koupal. Marla is a sales and marketing guru extraordinaire. And I've gotten to know Marla over the last year or so, and she constantly blows me away with her nuggets of brilliance. So, Marla, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to know I have nuggets of brilliance.
Nuggets of brilliance. There you go. You heard it here first. So,
Oh,
Marla, share with our viewers and listeners a bit about your background because you started off doing cold calls,
mhm.
dialing for dollars,
I
right?
am old enough to have done that.
Well, you and me both, but I didn't do a lot of it. I did some of it, but not a lot. But you did it. And what were you doing when you started off doing that? What were you selling?
We, I started off even before I was cold calling. I actually was one of those people in private student housing at my college. And
Mhm.
I got into the resident assistant, and that meant you automatically were leasing every spring to the people who were coming next fall. So I got into it from the leasing side, which didn't carry the onus of sales, maybe. But I
Right.
also have to say, I had a father who was in sales for 50 years. That's how he supported us. And my mother was an educator guidance counselor. And
Uh-huh.
so, where he was really his personality and my mom's, it gave me this incredible balance to be with people, but also to observe people.
Oh my
And so,
gosh, isn't that so fascinating? Because my dad was also in sales and my mother was an educator too.
yeah.
So,
And then I got to sit on the parts counter at my grandfather's John Deere business when I was a young kid. And we'd be talking with the farmers and stuff. And I'm four, right? And so those old men wanted to talk to you, and my mom's working the counter. But at the same time, every once in a while, my grandfather or my mom would say, now they're cranky today, but they really are a marshmallow inside. So I really learned in many other ways and lessons that I got shared with by those three that not everybody is who they seem to be on the outside. So I work from curiosity.
okay. Yep.
I want to know more about you. And I found that curiosity always saved me from having to know everything. And let me tell you, I was one of those kids that grew up and said, I know that, I know that, I know that. And the day I found out that that was more risky than being
Yes.
curious,
Hmm.
I shifted.
Totally. Right.
And
Yes.
so that was, so, that's a summation of life lessons.
Right.
I couldn't have described that to you then. But
Sure.
one of the simplest things when I was leasing in college, mom would show up, dad would show up, and the daughter, right?
Right.
What I quickly realized is I'm showing an apartment, but that wasn't the sale. The sale was, how safe is she going to be to dad? Mom, is she going to have all the social experiences that mom wants her to have? And how is she going to meet guys? And but dad wants her to be safe, and then she wants to know what kind of fun she's having. So I'm having three conversations.
Yeah.
And
That's extra tricky, right? With three conversations. Yeah.
when you learn to do that, the single conversation was probably harder.
Interesting. Yeah. So then you went from leasing dorm rooms
I went
to
from
cold
leasing car.
calling.
Well, yeah, I went into teaching for a while. That didn't work out. I taught sailing for a while, and that was done. And when I got married, I had to have a job because he was still in college. And so I started out cold calling businesses. In those days, you didn't order your printing online. I was selling printing. And I would
Right.
just walk into businesses and I would say, how are you strategizing your printing options? Do you just get at the point of need? Do you plan ahead? And I'd say, who can I talk to? And it just kind of went from there. And
Right.
walked into, I made my first big sale in those days. That $300,000 was a big sale. Um,
Whew,
all the
still a
co-
big sale.
all the college catalogs in the area, and then, but I'm one of those people, I have to sell what I believe in. And I
Right.
believed in them, they made me believe, and then they got the contract done, but they couldn't, it was a hectic process. And I realized this company's not for me.
Right. So fast forward many years
Yeah,
and you're in network and affiliate marketing.
right.
And so what were the apps you talked about curiosity, right? So always being curious about your prospect right?
Right.
So how do you start? What what were some of the keys? If you think a little deeper on that, if we dig a little deeper into curiosity, right? How do you become curious online? Or how do you, yeah, how do you become curious online?
You know, whether it's online or a trade show, which I used to work a lot of with my health products, it's what prompted them to respond today. I've
Mm,
also sold auto insurance. And it's like every time if somebody calls in, walks up to your booth, or responds to your thing, I want to know what triggered them.
okay,
Because I know that words are not what triggered them. The words highlighted for them something that they've been thinking about doing, or they've been considering. They've seen it 10 times already and like, well, you know what? It's here today. I see it. I'm going to act. So
right.
I want to know what prompted them to act today. So I just say, what did you see in the ad or the message? You know, however we got their attention, I
Right.
will refer back to that because I want to know what was the key thing.
Okay.
And the best example I have is I used to have a sign for when I was doing trade shows, and it said energy, sleep, and balance. Well, those are three pretty distinctive different conversations.
Yeah, they are.
And so they would stand there and they'd stare and they'd look, and they'd come up, and then I would say, you know, they would say something to me. Well, what does this stuff do? I said, well, tell me what you saw. You were looking at the sign. What caught your attention?
Right.
They tell me one of the three. Well, then I had my door to then ask more questions about the energy or the balance or the sleep. And a lot of times you and I both know we meet people that say, oh, it's not for me, it's for my friend.
Right.
I love those people. So it's okay. I just start talking to them like, well, tell me about your friend. I just immediately put them at ease, let them talk about their friend. Sometimes they are talking about their friend, but you know, they also have something very similar going on.
Yeah.
So I just always make them, then I'm talking to a team of people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's take an example. I was just thinking about this afternoon. I'm
Okay.
on Facebook and I'm going through the people who have requested to be friends with me, and I'm accepting or denying them. And then I'm thinking, okay, that's good because I want to build my friend base on Facebook. But Gloria, you're missing this golden opportunity. They asked you to be a friend of theirs. Hmm, what question could I ask them? Because I think you and I agree in the whole sales process, it's all about questions, right?
Right, it is. You know, there's multiple ways I go about that, but most often my pretty consistent one is oh, this is exciting. I'd be delighted to be your friend, or however I'm in the mood that day to give my little good stuff. But I say, I'd love to know what prompted you to connect, or I'd love to know what intrigued you. And I might then go ahead and say, I've taken a look at your profile and commented on a few of your posts. What and I'd love it if you would do the same for me. And then I let it go. And I see if they respond or not. And do they engage? Pretty much after that, if they don't engage, I don't spend much more time on them. They might stay on my friend list for a while
Right.
until they get to know me. But I make the effort in the beginning to be sure that we can make a connection if we can.
Great. So let's say, again, we're in the world of social media now, right?
Right.
Um, so it's all about, this is a question that I'm phrasing as a sentence. Yeah, I should say, is it all about when you're posting, when you're messaging people on LinkedIn, when you're doing a TikTok video or a Facebook reel or, YouTube short or a YouTube full length video? Is it all about asking a question or creating curiosity to get somebody to get the hook?
I believe everything is about curiosity, because people don't, what's their stimulation to act? People don't really, they make a list of to-dos and they talk about their necessities, but I don't think they act on them till they're either at the point of desperation. So most of us, people are needing people that are curious to respond to us. And I know that's a very generic answer, but
Okay, so
I'm all about when I teach sales, like if we were going to go person to person sales, which we still have to have, I teach people how to create the buying space. Now, the buying space is where you know more about the buyer than the buyer knows about you. Because until you know enough about the buyer, you don't have any place to put or insert anything you have. So we have to be the, people call it the bigger person or the more curious person, but we should be the wait and see people. We shouldn't be the let me dump on you person.
Okay.
And that takes patience and that takes trust in yourself that you're not wasting time, that you're not losing a moment, because the more you listen to the buyer, the more they value you. They don't even know what's going on, but the more they're heard, the more they're acknowledged, the stronger connection you have. It doesn't matter if they don't buy the first time, they're going to remember you. So actually, our first job is to become memorable.
Okay. And how do you become memorable? Let's say somebody's watching this and they're saying,
Just how you and I are engaging now. I mean, it's, I'm always just, I really want to know who I'm speaking with. I really want to give value to whoever I'm in front of. And so I really want to know more about them. And how is it that they're willing to share about themselves? And I find most people are uncomfortable sharing about themselves, and many people like to hide behind a story. So I'll pull on the loose threads wherever they are and be really nice and fun and friendly and just get them to the point where they're comfortable. And by that point, you pretty well have done the part of the job that needs to be done to then be able to engage in the here's what I have conversation, or what were you seeking conversation, and then, well, here's what I have. Let's see if it fits. So in another place we all kind of get into trouble is we act like we're the ones always with the solution. Nope, we just got a goodie. That's all we got. We got some, and it works for some people, but I don't know if it's going to work for you. And when you go at it with that attitude, people always want to know what you have.
Okay. Yes, I agree with you, because again, it's more curiosity, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm not desperate to have you know me.
Pardon?
I'm not always desperate to have them know me. But if you're in my space, I'm going to know you.
Yes. When I was doing high ticket sales, $2,000 plus, it was my conversation right until the very, 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 very end was nothing but a long series of questions about them, And frankly, I told them nothing about me.
Right. I 15 years sold a $2,000 item at trade shows and still have a good customer base today. And same way.
Yeah. And it was all about finding out their pain points and their pleasure points, right? What are their pains? What are their dreams? And when you find that out, it's fascinating, but your prospect will tell you what they want to be sold, right?
They will. And that's why we have to listen. But what I learned years ago, I was a 15-year sales trainer in an insurance company. And I started putting together the things that I knew, but had never really tried to teach to anybody. And luckily one time and we all know the quadrants that people use to talk about personalities. I focus only on behaviors. And so there's two behaviors in buying that people have. They're a fast pace or a methodical pace. And they're either people focused or they're task focused.
Yep.
Do you can determine pace and focus, then you can adjust your conversation. And so there's one group called the supporters. You will never close them unless you include all the people that are in their family in their decision making, because they don't know how to take care of themselves first. They take care of everybody else first.
Yes.
And then there's people like you and I, you tell us a good story and we have a good time and we sell ourselves.
Yep.
And then there's the drivers who come in at you and they say, how much time is this going to take? And you're sitting here thinking, okay, they came to me. They obviously know their time. But it's like you don't take that as offensive. You just say, well, I know time's really valuable to you, but it should take this long to do this. And if you're really interested in the demo, it'll take this. And when you buy, it'll take this. Never leave that part out.
Right. When you buy, because you're planting the seeds, right? When you buy,
Oh, yeah. Because you'll close them faster than anybody else.
absolutely. I love the drivers.
And then the analytics, you have to know, or the ones that are methodical and task focused. You have to know,
Yes.
as a storyteller, I have to cut it down, because
Yes.
the more you say, the more questions they will have.
Yes.
And so you have to give them just enough to entice them, but you also have to tease them sometimes out of their overly analytical lists, because they're not considering the emotions or the other things that are involved. So, I have some fun situations in which, to some people, when I used to be in leasing and in property management, I used to say, tell me about the aesthetics that are important to you, because they had all the dishwashers, refrigerators, everything all checked off. And it was like, and they'd look at you like, what do you mean? I said, what makes you feel good when you walk in your front door?
Yeah.
So,
So let's take that into social media, because that's when you're having a conversation with someone. And in my world, for the things that I'm personally doing, and obviously there are lots of network marketing opportunities that need a one-on-one conversation.
yes.
But in the things that I'm doing, they're cheap. It's a $40 one time for live, $10 a month kind of thing. So in my mind, I don't need to have a conversation one-on-one
Uh-huh.
with 99.9% of those people. So when you're just doing social media, when you're posting, when you're doing a YouTube video, when you're doing a TikTok video, are you still trying to appeal to those 4 different personality types?
You are. I'm not always too sure how great I'm doing at it, but when I'm doing my sales presentations, it's usually where I'm uniquely describing some of these things, like the buying space. And so I might give examples around so that people then can see how they might fit. When I'm doing products, I'm trying to be sure I'm not always on the excitable side of what's going on. I try to offer some balance, like either with a little bit of a list or the analytical, uh,
Mhm.
possibly, and in the emails too. I tried to do that. I was just working on one before we got on the phone, where you do a little bit of the fun, catchy stuff that's going to catch the fast decision makers and the people that are people focused, and how you can do this for your family, and the others that are logical and want to get the business budget done right. So you try to do some balance. I don't overwork at it, but I do try to go back and say, have I touched all 4 somehow?
Right.
Like,
And obviously it's easier to do, it's a lot easier to do in an email,
mhm,
because you can do certain bullet points, like you could say something along the lines of, if you've been dreaming of creating life of your dreams, traveling where you want, when you want, that would be the dreamers, the what I call
uh-huh,
peacock, right?
right,
If you want, if if you want to get results now, that's going to be those drivers, right? If you want to change the lives of people across the world,
right.
that's what I call the doves, the ones that are so
Okay.
caring and everything. Or if you want to have a proven system, a proven step-by-step system, that's going to take care of the analytics, right? So it's easier to do that in an email, hard to do it in a 1-minute video.
You don't, but you could, like, the people who are watching videos are sometimes um not in some of those categories, possibly. It just depends on what attracts them for entertainment. But I think in the messaging in Facebook, this is, or some of the other, LinkedIn, some of the things to do is to try to look at how the person writes back to you and determine by the
Mhm.
terminology they're using. If they're more of a fact-based questioning, or however they speak back to you, then you kind of know you're in the task focus with the task focused person.
Right.
If someone gives you something, uses lots of adjectives like fun or exciting, or those aren't typically what you're gonna, but you're gonna find something that says
Right.
emotional, then you can maybe figure they're a little more social or people oriented. So you have to relate that and match your language to them. So I'm a very direct person. I whip out answers really, really quickly. And I have to always, if I write out a message, I have to go back and reread it and go, does my tone match their tone?
Yes.
And if my tone doesn't match their tone, then I work it. So there's some people I know that it pays for me to start a message. Oh, I'd be delighted. I'm so delighted you sent me a friend request. And then there's other people that just, I've kind of seen them, know them. We finally connected, and I don't have to quite go to that extreme, but it's because delighted will be off-putting to some people.
Right.
So we have to watch our tone. And I think that level of awareness is just grown over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people go out there, they get into this industry and they say, I don't know how to sell. You don't know how to sell. You have to know how to communicate with people. The word sales to me is so misused because a sale is only the transaction. It is only the time at which money passes some form of exchange.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it. Everything prior to that is a conversation. Sales is just a conversation. And it depends on, and you don't go into any conversation knowing the outcome you want. Like if you and I were to have coffee, we don't know the outcome we want to have,
Right.
other than a good time. We'll qualify it as a good time. And if we decide to meet again, we decide to do something together, whatever, well, that wasn't necessarily on the agenda when we went to have coffee.
Right.
So if people could ease up on their agenda and say, I'm having a conversation, I'm going to create a buying space, I'm going to understand this person's buying style, I'm going to find out how I can serve them, only then do we have the potential of an outcome called a sale.
Okay. I love that. And one of the things I learned from a sales coach was that your only goal in a sales conversation. So let's say you've gone back and forth with somebody on social media or whatever, and you've got an opportunity or whatever it is, but you're getting on a one-on-one phone call or a one-on-one Zoom call with somebody.
Right.
The sales coach said your only purpose of the call is not to sell anything. Your only purpose of the call is to help your prospect get clarity. Is it a clear yes or is it a clear no? And
Yes.
when I got that, that was lifted this huge weight. I am just in service to the prospect, helping them get clarity because I don't want to sell anybody anything that's not going to help them,
Right.
that's not right for them. I don't want to have anybody join my teams if it's not a good fit for them. I'm not in this just to, sell a bunch of stuff, have a bunch of people join, because that's not going to create any sustainability in my business. So
Correct.
I want to make sure I really have something that's providing a really valuable service to my prospect.
Yeah. And I like the way they said that. I mean, that's probably been shared with me many times, but it's like you begin to synthesize all your information. But it is true. You're only finding should I be here to serve you or not?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's not like I'm going to be upset if you say no. And I've worked in the corporate environment where people would slam down the phone and they go, oh, slow talker. Oh my God. And when people start making the customer wrong, they are in the wrong profession
Mm-hmm.
because every person has their own style of choosing and they are not there to dance our tune.
Yeah.
And so I'm always just mystified when I run into somebody like that. It's like, really? And it depends on where we are. They may have just walked into a Marla coaching moment. Sounds
Yeah.
like, how much pain do you want to get rid of? I can help you out here in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. So give us some tips on how you create curiosity in, for example, a Facebook post.
The best way is to just ask questions. You know, my creative brain is hanging me up. It depends on what I'm marketing. So let's say I'm
Sure.
marketing classes. I will basically say, do you know how to create the buying space? Are you familiar with the buying space? Or what attributes does it take to be a successful salesperson? I will pick on scripting a lot. I will say things around, we can't guarantee how your customer's going to respond. So scripts there can't be enough scripts. I posted one today. There's 360 degrees on a circle. There's 360 perspectives on anything. So if you walk around an elephant, there's 360 perspectives. So any brings you 360 perspectives. No one script is ever going to hit all 360 perspectives. And so I do things like that in an obtuse or a little pokey way, and I get a lot of responses. And then people are just know that I'm a little bit out of the box with how we talk about sales.
Love it. So what if someone is saying, yeah, but I mean, I don't even know how to begin. Like, what do I say? I think that there's so many network marketers out there that are like, they actually don't want to get on a call because they feel like, I don't know what to say. They want people to sign up. They want people to join their team, but they don't actually want to have to talk to anybody because they're petrified of what they have to say.
Yeah, there's 2 points of the conversation. There's making the cold call, or there's having people respond to you from your post. And so I'm usually working with people that have enough out there, or they have a funnel or whatever, that I just really direct them back to, you've already said a lot. Something got their attention. Work from where their attention is. So I emphasize open-ended questions. I never emphasize a close. So most sales training is always talking about the close, but you don't have a close if you don't have an open. So I try to get, and people aren't really familiar with how to ask open-ended questions. So pure open-ended questions are, what prompted you to call today? What intrigued you? What did you notice? And then when they answer you, I'm going to promise you that answer is not enough to build a conversation on. So you say, well, tell me more. And then they go into their story. And then you can say, so, and if that's not enough, you'll ask another question based on what they've told you to get a little more. And then you'll say, so what I hear is you have to acknowledge. So what I hear is you got intrigued by this, you're looking for this. And so what I'd like to do is share with, I know the question. I forgot it. Why did I forget it? The question you want to ask is the third question. So it's, what prompted you? Tell me more. What have you already thought of or tried? Because when, if you were having a skincare line and somebody's looking at all your stuff and they say that they have acne, and you go over to your particular line and pick this stuff up, they go, no, that won't work. So you always want to know, what have they thought of or tried? Okay, now you've got your field. See, so what I've heard is that you'd like this for energy, and that you've tried these things here. And so here's maybe something that's a little bit outside of where you've been before. Are you open to me sharing that with you? You seek permission.
Right.
You're in the door.
Love it.
See, people leave that out. They run around going, I have a solution. I have a solution. You want to hear my solution? You want to hear my solution? And no, that's good that you have all that information, but it can't come first.
Okay. Which is really interesting because, I build online, I build 100% online, and so many of my funnels are asking the question.
Yeah.
Right? Let me ask you one question. If you could make this amount of money without ever having to recruit anybody or sell anything, would you say yes?
Yeah.
No?
And you're being specific, but what you're doing is you're taking right away and paring down your audience.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as if you were in person, but so you can do that. But people know you too, and there's something about that's very effective, and we can do that in funnels.
Yes, absolutely. Or my survey funnel, we get more response to the survey funnel than anything else because you're asking questions. And in my experience, and I did cold calling ages ago, but not much. But I have done a ton of, uh, you know, one-on-one sales calls because I had my own coaching business and I was selling high-level coaching packages. And I've done hundreds of sales calls. And so people love to talk about themselves, don't they?
Yes.
And
Makes it perfect. It's perfect.
yeah. So when you take that online, knowing that people love to talk about themselves, you create a survey funnel. People are talking about themselves. You know, they're not talking to you in the same way, but they're sharing. And people, just as you said, people want to feel heard,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's in a weird kind of way online. That's what a survey funnel does. And I have found survey funnels to be so crazy, crazy powerfully effective.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
and
yeah.
that's the key thing. Everybody says, I'm not making any sales. And I sometimes will say, do you hear your customers?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you
Yeah.
so worried about what a lot of people come to me and say, I don't know what to say. I said, that's not the problem. You have to forget that.
Yeah.
You've been talking for your whole life. You go to coffee with a friend and you guys didn't have an agenda.
Right. Exactly. We don't print out an agenda before we go to coffee with a friend, right? Well, maybe some people do, but I sure don't.
I don't. And I think the other challenge, why people are having a challenge with messaging and or talking, or just like you said, is a lot of the training that's out there is coming from, and I'm not being sexist here, it's just coming out of the old corporate, this is the way you do it, drive, drive, drive. Well, there's a different dichotomy going on there.
Mm-hmm.
There, you know, when you're going out, that you're going for this company, these are the needs they have, this is what your company has. So you're going in to serve a niche within their business. When
Right.
we're dealing with just every day, all of us on the street, living our lives, home businesses, wanting to leave a job, grandparents, whomever, we all have a lifestyle we want to lead, but we wanted some extra income.
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely into a personalized situation, and old corporate tactics won't flow. So
Right.
that's why the true open-ended question of what did you see? What prompted you? What have you thought of or tried? You wouldn't use those in the corporation. So
Right.
they used to talk about how you qualify people. Well, you don't qualify people because a lot of people don't even know how to make decisions.
Yeah.
So you've got to know, what are they filtering? It's like a bunch of goldfish in a pond, all going a different way sometimes, depending on the person you're spending time with. So you want to see as much as you can about this person. So you can't make any assumptions about any human being like you can about a corporation who's out there in the world doing this kind of business, and they might need this widget over here or this service over here. People are more complex than the corporate environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. And as you said, the needs, I mean, if you're a good salesperson in the corporate world, you already know what the needs of the company are
Yeah.
before you go in, right? You probably know, or it's very possible that you know that they're already using your competitor, right?
Right.
So different scenario completely.
Right.
Um, yeah. So let's talk about closing the sale. You know,
Mhm.
because everybody, we've all been told, well, you got to close the sale, you got to close the sale.
Well, I assume the sale. So when I've done all the engagement that I do, I never teach anybody how to close. I don't even use the word. I just go back to the open, and all we have to do is say, well, through this process, you told me that you were wanting more energy. And and you told me about the things you'd tried, and you might repeat a couple of what those were.
Yeah.
And we've discussed how this could support you. Are you feeling pretty good about this right now? Well, yeah. So it sounds like you're ready to go. I can do this with a cash, check, or credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I have never done anything but assume sales my whole life. Didn't
Yeah.
even know what I was doing in the beginning when I did it. But I only assume sales.
Yeah. And when you do all the questioning correctly, there are no objections.
There are none. I
Right.
don't train that. I don't train that either. I show everybody there are no objections.
Yeah,
There are only unanswered questions. So
exactly.
if somebody's, even if somebody comes back and says, well, I don't know, I get paid on Friday, that is not an objection.
Right.
And you just go, and would that stop you today? Most people think that's the stop. They think that's the no. It's like,
Right.
no, oh, no, I think I can work this out. Or you say, or if they say, well, kind of is. Okay, so can I call you Friday? Let's set a time. Let's do that. So where other people are falling apart at the end is they hear absolute no's. And let me tell you, if someone's really, really interested, there is no absolute no around money. Because if they've already determined the value, they're sitting there in their mind and they probably said, well, I don't get paid till Friday. And they're trying to think how they can work this out. So my gosh, give them the time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Let
Give
them,
it time.
let them buster around a little bit. And like I could, can you take 2 credit cards? They'll say. and wait, people are so nervous at the end because
Mhm.
they got into some kind of an ego thing at that point, like, oh, I'm almost there, oh my God, please. And they start praying and doing everything. Stop, just stop, breathe, and then just wait it out. So this is where people they think they get all tongue-tied. And what, I don't know, it's like, okay, so they didn't tell me no. What else is going on? And then
Mhm.
I'm curious again. And sometimes they say, well, I can't get paid till Friday. And you can tell they're still thinking.
Yeah.
And I say, tell me what's going on. And then that's when they'll tell me whatever the story is about that. And I said, oh, well, that's no problem. We can, I could call you, or you could still get this free shipping if we do it this way, or do you need to call somebody right now? Or, whatever it is. Now, my favorite one, Gloria, my favorite one is when they say I need to talk to my spouse.
Right.
Well, but that is so simple, because like in some situations with supporters, I know they do. Okay. So what you do is you bring that spouse into the conversation, whether they're physically there or not. And you say, well, tell me what kind of questions they'd have. We've had a very lengthy conversation. What do you think questions they would have? And you answer those questions. Now they're in the spouse's head at this point. They're not in their own head,
Mhm.
in the spouse's head. And you answer those questions. And so with everything you already know right now and how well we've answered these questions for your spouse, do you think you'd be comfortable just making this purchase and then going home and explaining to them what you did? And then I reiterate the key points that were involved in the decision. And I can
Right.
close supporters as equally as I close drivers.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's fantastic. Marla, any last tidbits or genius ideas you want to share with those network marketers who are really out there trying to build with social media and how to transition this into social media? I mean, everything you've shared here is just so incredibly valuable.
I don't know that I have one thing, but I said, just believe that people are people. And if somebody is trying to tell you that people are formulas, walk away from that person. People are not formulas.
Right.
People have their own unique backgrounds, how they get to their decision making and everything else. Never make anybody wrong for the types of decisions they make, because you're really taking it personally. And this is not a personal business. You're in the business of offering. You're offering, and you're offering solutions, but those solutions aren't for everybody. And so it's like Procter and Gamble. They know not everybody's going to go buy everything of theirs off of a shelf. Well, we have to have the same attitude. It's like, I'm an open book. I'm an open store. I'm here for the people that I match with, resonate with, create an energy with. And,
Yes.
and that will not be every person in the world. And I have and a lot of people will spend a lot of time wanting to be liked. And I want to be respected.
Mm.
And I've never let wanting to be liked drive me, because I've had to make some hard decisions in my life. I mean, I make decisions easy because I had to make a lot of them. I was the end of the line for over 4,000 apartment units stored in housing units. So let me know. I can be, I can do that stuff. But it's like we're putting too much responsibility on ourselves to
Yeah.
be the perfect answer for everyone. We just aren't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And doesn't that just lift the whole burden off of it? You
It's
know?
like,
And I love that analogy when you talk about Procter and Gamble. I mean, does Procter and Gamble feel rejected when I go buy some other brand of toothpaste? No, they don't. And they know they're not for everybody. And
yeah,
I think that's the thing. Because as network marketers, we've been taught who's your target audience? Everybody with skin, everybody who breathes. And then that makes everybody, and then we're a failure because we don't get everybody on our team. Well, we're never going to get everybody on our team. We're never going to get everybody as customers. It's just we put these crazy unrealistic expectations on ourselves, and
yeah.
then it puts us in a downward spiral and we quit.
Yeah, and that's interesting that there's a big conversation to be had around why are we putting these expectations on ourselves? Are we trying to be like the Joneses, or what is it that's going on within us that we have this, that we just don't know who we are and how we can be satisfied and how we can serve?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah,
That's so great. Thank you, Marla, for ending on that note, because it really is about who are we, how can we serve, and who's our right people to help,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well,
So,
thank you for
yeah,
having me, because this was fun too. Fun
yes,
Wednesday afternoon stimulation.
love it. Thank you so much, Marla. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gloria.